Hello, I'm Tsachi and with me is Philip Henke, and we're going to talk about the permissions element and the one that is being used in WebRTC, one we call GetUserMedia, and the changes that are coming to it in the near future.
So we have this permissions dialog, which you most likely have seen when you call GetUserMedia for the first time. And that deals, or the whole permissions topic deals with different aspects of requiring a user permission. So the biggest problem we have is every website asks you for your location, and you're like, no. Video conferencing websites also ask for your camera and microphone, and they have a good reason to do that.
The application we use for recording asked us this before we started.
Yes, but this dialog has quite a few usability issues.
Yep.
So for WebRTC, what we typically see is this dialog popping up when you call GetUserMedia with audio true and video true. But before you call it, you should really prime the user, because if they see that and they're like, why does this site want my camera? And you should also guard it with a button click. So it's coming from a user interaction with the page.
So it's like we expect the user needs to have a reason when he sees that. It shouldn't be like, something arbitrary happened and I'm asking access for the camera. He needs to understand the reason for that.
Yes, and this is browser user experience, so you can change that. And it's also as part of the address bar, which to most users is like something bad is going to happen.
It's not part of the UI of my own application. I can't control it.
Yes. And this is the second iteration of the dialog, which is from like 2016 to 2017. Previously, this was a full with bar at the top. And you can see that here on the Janus Meet Echo demo. It still points to the old location, even though the old location is gone since 2016.
The problem with the arrow bit.
Yes, Lorenzo, please fix this.
Yeah.
And the problem with that one was that when the user clicked that, it changed the page dimensions. And that was bad.
Yeah.
So the new version is already better.
Okay.
Now, if the user rejects, they will have a hard time getting back to it. What they need to do is to click on the information icon in the address bar, and that allows you to reset the permissions. It's fairly recent, so from 2020, 2021, and that's already much improved.
I'm not even sure that I knew where to find it until recently. So.
Yes, you really want to prime the user and make sure they don't reject.
It's not that it is hidden, it's just hard to find.
Yes. And I mean, previously it was even harder to find because you needed to go to the Chrome settings for the content camera. That gives you a long list. So there you need to find the sites that you're using. You need to do it separately for camera and microphone, and you can't link it from your UI. So you need to tell the user, do this.
Yes.
And what we've seen in the pandemic was that users are confused about this dialog. So we also it's fine. Well, then we had many users who never seen that before. So we see that here in late February.
What do we say in the graph? There are like two lines in there.
We see the API calls to GetUserMedia and the API calls to AdTrack.
Okay.
Which were fairly much the same.
The assumption is if we called GetUserMedia but didn't call AdTrack, it means that we tried to make a call but failed because the user denied or didn't have access to the camera or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay. And let's say the line at the top, the light blue one is GetUserMedia, and the lower one is AdTrack.
Yes.
Okay. And I see that at the beginning on the left side, they're like almost the same, which means that every call to GetUserMedia was followed by a call to AdTrack.
Yes, which means the users accepted 99% of the time.
So these are users that knew what they were doing.
or had learned and didn't even see
Before.
the dialogue anymore,
Yeah.
because it gets persisted, so you only see it once and then forget about it.
Okay.
So what we see is the first red arrow thing is that in February 2020, there was a divergence. So more GetUserMedia calls happened, but ad track didn't follow at the same rate.
That
And
would be
that
huge.
was when China did a lockdown and started to use video conferencing.
Okay.
And then we see the numbers converge again, which means the users learned how to deal with the user experience. Lots of YouTube videos on that. And then in April, we see the same again happening globally. So we have this divergence between the two lines, becomes fairly big. So a lot of users are confused about the dialogue. Then they learn and the numbers converge again, which is interesting to see.
Yes, and I guess this simply indicates that there is a problem with the dialog box for the last 10 years or so.
Yes, but we didn't care. We clicked it once, allowed it once, and then forgot about it.
Yep.
It wasn't a big problem.
So I guess we're here. Up until now, we just explained the problem, but we're here because we want to answer the question or ask the question, can we do better? And how can we do that? Because on one hand, we don't want to let you developers to do whatever you want, because that opens up too much room for abusing the system.
Yes.
So, like, the browser vendors need to tread the fine line of giving some customization qualities or capabilities to this, but in a way that isn't open for abuse.
Yes, which is a tricky problem to solve. And what the Chrome folks came up with is a declarative element for GetUserMedia and other permissions. So it's called the permission element. It's currently an origin trial. There's a nice Chrome blog post with details how to register for the origin trial. But you
And
don't
that
need
blog
to.
post, if you go to the description below for this video, you'll find the link there.
Yes. But you don't need to register just to test it out. You can test it locally by launching Chrome with enable blink features permission element. We also do language English, and we add another feature one-time permission, which we'll cover later.
Okay.
And that gives you a HTML element. It shows the state of the permission, and you can add CSS to it. So you can make it red if there's no permission. You can make it green if the user still needs to click, or you just do something fancy.
Okay.
And it has several callbacks. One of them is the prompt action event, which means that the user accepted the prompt. And now you can call GetUserMedia. And if the user clicks that, this triggers the same dialog as GetUserMedia does, but without calling GetUserMedia. And then the CSS style changes too. We also have a prompt dismiss element when the user clicks the X button on the prompt. You need to explain them more. And we also have the validation status change event, which means the status of the permission change from not allowed to allowed, which means you can call GetUserMedia. I have a gist with a page, HTML page, one page that shows the various options and that you can save, run using a HTTP server, and then test it out.
Okay.
Linked
And
in the
again,
comments.
link below.
Yes, and this looks quite different from what we have previously. Previously, we had it as part of the address bar. But now what we have is something that's centrally on the page, which means the user is much more likely to find it, hopefully. And that makes a big difference from the user experience point of view. Once again, clicking X dismisses prompt, which triggers the permission dismiss thing. And it has options for allow this time and allow on every visit, which is something with the one-time permission thing. And what if the user had rejected the permissions and is now like, how do I re-enable it? As say, you didn't know how to do that until recently, and it was hard. You needed to guide the user to the information button in the address bar, and now you just get this continue not allowing, allow this time when you click the dialog, the permissions element. Much nicer.
Okay.
And side notes, one-time permissions, it's something, problem we currently have is if you allow once, you allow it until the end of the world, which is not good because you will forget that you allowed this site camera permissions 5 years ago. So you can clean that up, but who does that? So what Chrome is trying to do is they're pushing for more allow just this time. This had been ongoing as a field trial for quite some time. Launch status is a bit unclear, but make sure to test with this so you're prepared for upcoming changes.
Yeah, it's running on my machine, I think, most of the time now.
Yes. So
Okay.
ramping up the experiment.
Okay, so if you're here up until now, thank you. And you can learn more about WebRTC on webrtccourse.com or on Blog Geek Me.
Thank you.
Bye.